First, thank you for the founder of the Landezine Award and the magazine for this opportunity, and for the jury members. Without you, we would not staying here, not sharing with you some of our thoughts and ideas. More close, yeah. I will try to make in 20 minutes the presentation about 5 years of the work, of my work within the Strelka KB, and then there is 10 years of institution itself. So when we start 2009 as an educational institution, and then 5 years later as a practical company, we were in a situation where in Russia there is more than 1,000 cities. People rarely can expect that there is such amount of urban environment. Mostly people think it's 10. Meanwhile, it's only 2 or 3% of the whole territory country belong to the cities, and we are very urbanized. I mean, in terms of UN habitat ratio, we are a very urbanized country. We have more than 75% of people living in the cities. But these cities are the product of the post-Soviet, of the Soviet era. We have more than 60% of the cities were built or dramatically changed during the Soviet period. And then only 5% of the whole cities are the historical environment. So it's really very modernistic or very environment in which we are living. It means that each second person in a country live in the prefabricated building built in the Soviet Union. Yeah, so this is actually, we can say this is the typical Russian dwelling. And also the cities are in a level of very, let's say, weak in terms of management and political, because most of the taxes go to the higher, even the cities collecting them, they go on the more higher levels. And we have more than 30% also of the cities who are belonging to the monofunction or monofunction or monoproduction. So when in the 90s this situation changed, also we see that all the cities were not prepared in the planning-wise or to absorb or accept the all new functions or new typologies or new services which fulfill the cities, and this also creates the, let's say, the new, decrease the quality of the urban environment. Yeah, so and then this is all about these prefabrication things. So our vision and why we start acting is that we believe that we can shift from this industrial Soviet city model to the new model where the people and the cities are the core of the new economy, and that we should make all attempts to transform our cities, or not to tune them up to the new conditions and new conditions which are answering actually the questions of the new quality of life for the people. So it needs the changes on all levels, and we try what can be the fundamental changes in the systems that we can create this critical amount of change which will bring system to the new level. So who we are. So the KB itself was started 2013 after the 5 years of the institution. It was started with very few people. Today it's a bit more, around 300. And the average age is 27. We are very proud of it, that it's really a young company. And I think that's, no, we try different ways, but I think it's the only way to create really the new, let's say, professional discussion, starting working with the very young people, then trying to change the mind of the people who lived and worked in this previous era. Moreover, we call ourselves the public benefit corporation, even it's not exist officially this title in Russia, but the profit which we generate with our activities we gave to the institution, and Varvara Melnikov, director of the institute, she's in this room. So the institute itself, it's do the educational programs, and now they run the program for 3 years, which is called New Normal with Benjamin Bratton. They do the open cultural events for the public lectures and press. And I think it's the only one, for me, it's the only one really critical and advanced institution in urban education, let's say education about the cities. We call ourselves urban service company, and more than 50 cities of Russia are engaged in our activities on different level. I don't know, on the city strategies or regeneration of the public spaces. So it's all kind of the activities, yeah, and the logos of them are very beautiful. I think we're also the only one who tried to collect all them on the one slide. We do in all fields, so starting with the culture, with sport activities, so all social infrastructure, education, housing, sports, and public realm. And even we work a lot with the projects. We have the centers of expertise inside the team, inside the company, which work from urban economists till the digital anthropologists who try to understand how the social networks and the real fabric of the city works together. And the process. So how we work. We have more than 3,000 experts worldwide. We run international and regional competitions within Russia and then help the winners to realize the projects. And for these 4 years or 5 years, more than 300 projects completed. For example, the project of My Street, or big transformation of public spaces in Moscow, we invite more than 200 architects, and 50 of them was international, to work with us together on this project. And I just should first this. And how we work actually. So these are the stages, let's say, of the project, of any project. And for us, it's very important thing is this solution word. So we pretend not to design the solution which is created or made, but to be part of the solution. Yeah, and all our work is to focus on these first two forms, strategy and brief. And we think that on these stages are most important to invite professionals to prepare the solution, then by politicians or by those who made the solutions, then to work with the current state and try to change it. So we work mostly as initiators on these two stages, and then we supervise and help projects to be realized. So how it's done on these two stages? So we develop kind of the model for the cities, which has three main parts: is the people, places, and processes, and they are the parts of the briefs which we develop, and then we invite architects to create the prototypes on the base of these briefs. So why? Because specifically in our conditions, just to take the official regulation of the state, you'll be not able to make a new school or new park. This will be the product of the very Soviet 60s or 70s, and we develop or rethink the whole model of this development, and then invite architects to work with us. It works for objects, and also it works for the urban systems. What we are doing now, we work within the Ministry of Construction to rethink or redefine the model for the affordable housing. All the norms are still from the 60s, and the model of the housing are still from the 60s. So what we are doing, we are, let's say, writing the new or the white paper, which will initiate the process of changing the norms in affordable housing. We work a lot with people engagement on different levels. Start with the crowdsourcing platforms for the cities. We do digital anthropology and also the digital charrette within the citizens. That was already here. And so, what kind of the results we achieved? One of our biggest or first projects for which we developed this model and the brief was the Zaryadye Park, which is in front of the Kremlin, and which was won. And then we ran the competition for that, and Diliska Video won it. So it's kind of the, specifically in current situation, quite interesting neighbors. Park designed by the American American-Polish theme in front of Kremlin. But it's really a successful project now, and people really likes it. Even there is, of course, some critics, but critics are everywhere. But still, it's a popular place for within the people. Then we create the place-based urban guidelines for the Moscow for all its 3,000 streets. And this document helps the city and all its departments, which nobody never talks, somehow to come to one conclusion about what and how they should improve the streets and the public spaces. And there was the just the previous lecturer from Norway. I was there last week. We got the Isakarp Award for this project and for the standards. And so on the base of the standards, we renovate more than 200 streets within 3 years. And so these are some of the results. I just want to skip them first. And so what are the, beside all effects which we measure within this project, we see that there is a really, it's changed the way how the city work with its retail. So the brands coming from the commercial centers back to the city. I mean, just yesterday was the article in one Russian paper that said that in the city of Moscow they minimize the vacancy of the first floor still the 4%. It's never happened before. Even during the process of construction, we're doubting a lot. People were doubting a lot that we are killing this, let's say, retail ecosystem, but it's reboosted and changed to the more to the people flows than to the specific places where you go with your car. It works with the effects for the pedestrians. So one of the most important for me things was that there appeared more pedestrians during the winter time. It became more safe and comfort during the nights. We have much more young people inside within the streets now, and also it's interesting that we analyze it through this digital anthropology research, analyzing the photos. People start paying very much more attention to the objects within the city, so it's really decreasing 30% the amount of posts with the buildings on the streets. And then also for the what's happened is that the amounts of on redesigned streets, the amount of traffic accidents was cut twice. Yeah, this is another project which I just mentioned, that we create kind of the suburban, urban, and central model within the cities to replace this Soviet system of the affordable housing, and then test these models within the international competitions. And some of these projects will be built in it will be now in the process of design as a test sites, and within this test sites build, and within this white paper which we prepared, we start the process of changing the whole regulation system. One of another projects which we are now running, it's the idea of not repeating the, let's say, experience of Moscow in other cities of Russia, with its 40 cities, more than 500,000 people in each of citizens, but to find people who and experts inside and regional architects, and to give them our knowledge and our, let's say, the way how we think the spaces should be updated. So we give them our techniques and find these teams, and then help them to realize projects in these cities. So it's mainly talk about the main public squares, about this one main street or main city park, to let's say, update it in a new way. And then some projects from, I don't know, Voronezh, Novosibirsk, who has its first embankment done for the public, or Lipetsk, or even Grozny, where we work together with the Norway architects Naheta, which is also quite incredible experience. So, and then what we do, we bring these international architects and the local regional teams to work together under the projects to help them do their projects better and try to learn through the process. And as a final slide, I would like to remind, maybe mainly for myself and to my colleagues, that when we think about Russia, there is always a discussion, is it part of Europe or not? But for me, definitely, I don't want to take too deep in that, but for me, definitely, Russian cities are European cities, and they're based on the European, let's say, idea of the city. At least they have names of the streets, so it's already a lot. And 25% of the whole Russian territory is a European part of Russia, and 70% of all cities which we have, they are based in this part of the country. So where live more than 70% of all population. So what we do believe, and what I believe, is that the cities is the key platform to redefine the, let's say, or find the new ways of linking of Europe within Russia, and to find the new ways of creating the ecosystem of the cities, and then maybe all these strange questions will be solved within the city, which we have now. Okay, thank you.